Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I wish you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, I'm going to interpret a book for you called The Nocturnal Brain. Just like its name suggests, this book discusses a category of health issues, sleep disorders. Sleep is incredibly important for our physical health and daily life. The quality of one's sleep can be affected by various factors such as life stress, anxiety levels, and sleep environment. Insomnia and other sleep disorders have become common problems in modern society. The author of this book is Guy Leschziner, a neurology consultant specializing in sleep disorders. He heads Europe's largest sleep center, affiliated with Guy's and St. Thomas' Hospital in London, and provides services to various London medical institutions, including King's College Hospital, London Bridge Hospital, and Cromwell Hospital. He excels in diagnosing and treating various complex sleep disorders, such as insomnia, sleepwalking, and parasomnias, and he educates the public through various media outlets like the Financial Times and BBC. Every year, the author sees hundreds of patients with sleep disorders. Some suffer from chronic insomnia, some have their day and night schedules reversed, and others exhibit strange behaviors during the night, severely disrupting their lives. In this book, the author introduces some of these patients. Some people eat everything in the fridge while in their sleep, drive with their eyes wide open, or even assault their partners during sleep. Some frequently experience sleep paralysis and even have terrifying hallucinations. For each case, the author provides an informative overview of the related sleep disorder. Some of these disorders may be familiar to us, but we might not fully understand them, like sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, or lucid dreaming. Next, I will break down the interpretation of this book into 3 parts. In the first part, we will discuss the first category of sleep disorders known as non-rapid eye movement parasomnias, including sleepwalking and night terrors. In the second part, we'll delve into the second category of sleep disorders, known as arousal disorders, which encompass sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and lucid dreaming. In the third part, we will explore more common sleep disorders like insomnia and snoring and look at possible solutions for them. Alright, now let's officially dive into this book. First, let's talk about the first type of sleep disorder, sleepwalking. In our common perception, sleepwalkers might just wander around the house, maybe startling the still-awake family members at most. However, the experiences of the sleepwalkers that the author has encountered are far more bizarre. Some individuals, while in their sleep, have cut their wrists with a knife, while others have walked several miles barefoot. There's even a patient who rode a motorcycle for miles while asleep, completely unaware. From a medical perspective, how can we explain these cases? How do people engage in complex activities like walking and riding a motorcycle during deep sleep? We know that dolphins, seals, and some birds can sleep with half of their brain while the other half remains active, allowing them to swim or fly while asleep. This phenomenon is known as unihemispheric sleep, a necessary skill for their survival. However, humans don't experience unihemispheric sleep. We often view sleep as a binary state, either awake or asleep, with no in-between. But recent research has shown that this isn't entirely accurate. There are intermediate states between deep sleep and full wakefulness. To explain this, let's first understand the stages of human sleep. Human sleep can be divided into 2 main stages. The first stage is non-rapid eye movement, NREM, sleep, which can be further divided into 3 smaller stages. When we first fall asleep, we enter the first of these stages, known as the drowsiness stage. During this stage, normal brain activity gradually quiets down, and our eyes begin to move slowly from side to side. As sleep deepens, we progress into the second stage, called light sleep, where brain activity slows further. The third stage is deep sleep, characterized by significantly slower brain wave activity. By this point, around 60 to 75 minutes have passed since we fell asleep. Next, we transition from NREM sleep to the second sleep stage, rapid eye movement, REM, sleep. During this stage, our eyes move rapidly back and forth, and brain activity is very active, resembling wakefulness. It's during REM sleep that we have complex, narrative-structured dreams. Throughout the night, our sleep is dominated by NREM deep sleep during the first half and REM sleep during the second half. This physiological process is regulated by a complex system of brain circuits and neurotransmitters, controlling the onset and termination of sleep and the transition between NREM and REM sleep. So, what's happening during sleepwalking? As we mentioned earlier, humans can simultaneously exist in both a state of sleep and wakefulness. When we enter deep NREM sleep, our entire brain exhibits synchronous electrical activity, resulting in high-amplitude slow waves known as delta waves. However, in the case of sleepwalkers, these slow waves are interspersed with other brain wave activity, resembling the patterns of a waking brain. This indicates that sleepwalkers occupy an intermediate state between wakefulness and sleep. Researchers have conducted brain scans on individuals with sleepwalking disorders, and the results showed that when sleepwalking occurs, certain areas of the brain awaken while others remain asleep. The awakened brain regions primarily control behaviors related to strong emotions, while areas responsible for rational thinking, such as the prefrontal cortex, remain asleep. This means that sleepwalkers may interact with their surroundings while lacking the rational thinking abilities they possess while awake. In other words, sleep is not necessarily a global phenomenon that affects the entire brain. It can be a localized event where some brain regions are awake and others are asleep. Humans have the ability to engage in such localized sleep phenomena. For example, studies with rats have shown that if they are kept awake for an extended period, even though they can't sleep, specific neurons in their brain cortex may briefly go silent, similar to deep sleep. During these moments of silence, rats are more prone to making mistakes in certain tasks. This same principle applies to humans. When we're extremely fatigued but still awake, it might appear that we're fully conscious, but certain regions of our brain might have already fallen asleep. In such a state, we become more susceptible to making errors. Abnormal behaviors that occur during NREM sleep, such as sleepwalking, are categorized as NREM parasomnias. These behaviors include sleepwalking, night terrors, and sleep talking. Night terrors typically occur in children who suddenly scream and cry in the middle of the night, with parents finding it challenging to console them. The child usually goes back to sleep and has no memory of the event. These behaviors arise during deep sleep without dreams. When deep sleep is disrupted, the parts of the brain responsible for controlling emotions and movements are more likely to fully awaken, while the areas responsible for rational thinking and memory remain asleep. In this state, individuals may engage in abnormal behaviors. So, why do some people sleepwalk while others don't? Firstly, there's a genetic component to sleepwalking. Often, family members of sleepwalkers also experience sleepwalking. In addition to genetic factors, sleep deprivation, alcohol, stress, anxiety, and traumatic events can increase the likelihood of NREM parasomnias like sleepwalking. So, cutting back on alcohol, reducing life stress, ensuring a comfortable sleep environment, and maintaining an adequate sleep duration can all be effective in reducing the likelihood of sleepwalking and other sleep-related behaviors. That concludes our discussion on NREM parasomnias. Next, let's talk about the second type of sleep disorder, narcolepsy. But first, let's discuss a mysterious phenomenon, sleep paralysis. Many people have experienced sleep paralysis during their dreams. It's a sensation of being fully conscious but unable to move, as if you're pinned down or held in place. One of the author's patients had an extreme case of this. He not only frequently experienced sleep paralysis but also had severe hallucinations. For example, he would hallucinate other people in the room with him. He once trembled as he told the author, "I felt like an immense force was pressing down on me. In that moment, I couldn't breathe or move. I felt like I was on the brink of death. I could only lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to speak, just making faint sounds. I would see terrifying images endlessly, and I couldn't blink or close my eyes. I had lost any ability to save myself." Sleep paralysis is a terrifying and painful experience, and its colloquial name adds even more mystery and horror to it. However, from a medical perspective, it's essentially a form of sleep paralysis and is one of the symptoms of narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a chronic sleep disorder that includes excessive daytime sleepiness, sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, and cataplexy. The core issue in narcolepsy is a malfunction in the neural mechanisms that regulate the immediate transition into rapid eye movement, REM, sleep after falling asleep. Normally, it takes 60 to 75 minutes to enter REM sleep, but individuals with narcolepsy may enter it shortly after falling asleep or even directly from a wakeful state. When this happens, it feels like dreaming while awake. They may perceive things in their room that don't exist, which is what we commonly refer to as sleep paralysis. In normal REM sleep, which is the stage where we dream, most of our muscles are paralyzed. While the brain is highly active, the body is essentially disconnected. Sleep paralysis is a result of the neural mechanisms that control the transition between non-REM and REM sleep going awry. These transitions are regulated by neurotransmitters, including orexin. If there's a shortage of orexin, patients may switch uncontrollably between non-REM and REM sleep. For example, they may go directly from a state of wakefulness into REM sleep. In such cases, they may experience a sensation of being awake while dreaming, which could manifest as hearing or seeing things in their room that aren't real. This combination of muscle paralysis and hallucinations can be an extremely uncomfortable and distressing feeling. Many people experience sleep paralysis at some point in their lives. However, conditions like shift work, sleep apnea, poor sleep quality, post-traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety can increase the likelihood of experiencing hypnagogic hallucinations and sleep paralysis. Fortunately, sleep paralysis and hypnagogic hallucinations are treatable. Improved sleep patterns and sleep quality can help alleviate these symptoms. Additionally, there are targeted medications, such as antidepressants, that can suppress REM sleep and delay its onset. So, in summary, sleep paralysis is a result of sleep disturbances and is one of the symptoms of narcolepsy. If you experience sleep paralysis along with other narcoleptic symptoms like excessive daytime sleepiness, it's essential to seek medical attention to address the underlying issue. Now, let's move on from these mysterious and extraordinary sleep disorders to discuss a more common type of sleep issue, snoring. Snoring is often caused by the narrowing of the airway or partial obstruction in the nasal passage, leading to the disruption of airflow deep within the oral cavity. When a person inhales, this disordered airflow can cause the affected areas of the airway to vibrate, resulting in a mild snoring sound or, in more severe cases, a rumbling, truck-like noise. While snoring is prevalent, if an individual experiences repeated pauses in their breathing along with significant daytime sleepiness, they may have obstructive sleep apnea, OSA. As someone gradually falls asleep, numerous small muscles that support the airway relax slightly. However, if the airway is narrowed or relaxed to a significant extent, it can lead to an obstruction. As a result, breathing interruptions occur, leading to a decrease in oxygen levels, an increase in heart rate, and fragmentation of deep sleep. This disruption continues throughout the night, and individuals may wake up feeling fatigued and drowsy. Sleep apnea-induced daytime sleepiness can have severe consequences. The author has treated numerous patients who, while driving, fell asleep at the wheel and caused accidents, only to discover later that they had sleep apnea. In addition to disrupting sleep, sleep apnea can have more serious consequences. During each episode of airway obstruction, our bodies release elevated levels of norepinephrine, leading to increased heart rate and blood pressure. The chest pressure and arterial stiffness may rise, and blood oxygen levels drop. Disrupted sleep and decreased blood oxygen levels can result in an upregulated sympathetic nervous system during the daytime, changes in hormone levels, and an increased risk of high blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, arrhythmias, and more. Sleep apnea can also impact the body's regulation of appetite and metabolism-related hormones, increasing the risk of obesity. Fat deposits around the neck can lead to airway constriction, making breathing even more difficult, creating a vicious cycle. In summary, if someone snores while they sleep and experiences recurrent breathing interruptions along with excessive daytime sleepiness, they should seek medical attention as soon as possible. Sleep apnea is more serious than one might think, potentially leading to conditions such as hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, arrhythmias, and more. Various treatments are available for sleep apnea, including weight loss, positional therapy to reduce airway obstruction, and the use of oral devices that advance the jaw to open the airway. Surgical interventions are also an option. Having discussed snoring, the last type of sleep disorder we'll talk about is insomnia. In 2005, The New Yorker published an investigative report about the conditions at Guantanamo Bay, where the U.S. military detained enemy combatants. The article revealed the techniques used by medical and research staff on the prisoners, and one of the core methods was sleep deprivation, disrupting their sleep patterns. The article detailed how sleep deprivation was a widespread practice. Prisoners were moved from one cell to another every 1 or 2 hours, referred to as the frequent flyer program. This tactic aimed to psychologically pressure the prisoners and make them lose their ability to regulate or control their own behavior, thus aiding in the interrogation process. Sleep deprivation has been used as an interrogation method for centuries. The earliest recorded use of sleep deprivation dates back to the late 15th century in Catholic religious tribunals, and it continued in actions like witch hunts in 16th century Scotland. Even in modern times, some countries have employed sleep deprivation in their interrogation camps. Although sleep deprivation does not leave physical marks, it inflicts significant mental distress, and it is highly dangerous. No one has been able to conduct long-term systematic sleep deprivation studies on humans using proper scientific methods. However, studies on animals have demonstrated that sleep deprivation can be fatal. For example, dogs forced to stay awake for an extended period can die within 4 to 17 days, and similarly, rats die after being awake for 11 to 32 days. Anyone who has experienced a night of tossing and turning due to insomnia knows how painful it can be. Insomnia not only affects memory, the immune system, mood, metabolism, appetite, and more, but it also takes a toll on a person's mental state. One patient described the agony of insomnia in his sleep diary: "Everyone else at home is asleep, and I'm just desperate. The thought of going to sleep makes me panic. The feeling of insomnia is just too lonely, like an endless abyss." However, the truth is that they are not alone in this struggle. Insomnia is remarkably prevalent, and it's the most common sleep disorder. About 1/3 of adults have experienced poor sleep quality, and approximately 1/10 of them suffer from chronic insomnia. This condition leads to daytime fatigue, irritability, difficulty concentrating, and a lack of motivation, among other issues. Stress and anxiety, common factors in those suffering from insomnia, can activate the body's stress response systems, leading to elevated cortisol and norepinephrine levels. Insomniacs tend to have an exaggerated response to stress. The same stress triggers cause a more pronounced stress response in their bodies, leading to the release of more hormones and disrupting their sleep. Furthermore, their sympathetic nervous system activity during the night is stronger than in the general population, leading to nighttime acceleration of the heart rate, increased metabolism, and dilated pupils. These factors create obstacles to falling asleep. So, what sparks this heightened state of arousal in individuals suffering from chronic insomnia? First and foremost, genetic factors play a significant role. Twin studies have shown that 57% of insomnia can be explained by genetics. Insomnia exhibits a genetic susceptibility. For those who have these genetic susceptibilities and are exposed to stressors such as work-related stress and emotional turmoil, the likelihood of experiencing insomnia increases. Apart from genetic factors, psychological factors also play a role in insomnia. About half of individuals with chronic insomnia have a psychiatric disorder, with anxiety issues being the most common. Insomnia, in turn, can exacerbate anxiety. Many insomniacs report that even though they feel fine during the day, once they're in bed, anxiety kicks in. They fear not being able to fall asleep and may even develop a fear of sleep itself. When their heads hit the pillow, they no longer associate a comfortable bed with the joy of falling asleep. Instead, their bedroom becomes a place of torment. They say, "I was exhausted when I got into bed, but as soon as the lights went out, my mind suddenly became overly alert. I had entered a state of heightened arousal, with my brain highly active, and all drowsiness vanished." Sleep becomes an unattainable desire, and the more they remain in this heightened state, the worse their relationship with sleep becomes. In addressing insomnia, particularly the anxiety and fear associated with it, a treatment known as cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is effective. Its purpose is to break the negative conditioning insomniacs have towards their beds and establish a positive connection. Here are a few methods used in CBTI. 1. Implement a strict schedule to avoid lying awake in bed for too long. If you've been tossing and turning for an extended period, it's better to leave the bedroom and do something else. In the bedroom, the only activity should be sleep. Work, leisure, and other activities should take place in other rooms. 2. Paradoxically, one approach is to restrict the time spent in bed. Insomniacs who are afraid of inadequate sleep often lie in bed for a long time, which only reinforces their negative conditioning. To counteract this, insomniacs can try limiting the time they spend in bed. For example, for a couple of weeks, they may decide that they will allow themselves only 5 hours in bed each night. This can help build a sleep drive, as sleep deprivation overcomes their state of hyperarousal and allows them to fall asleep. Throughout the history of insomnia treatment, there has been an emphasis on medication, such as the introduction of sedatives like Miltown in the early 1960s. However, these drugs subsequently revealed issues of dependence and rebound insomnia. There is even evidence to suggest that sleep medications might increase the risk of subsequent dementia. Over time, the focus has shifted to other therapies, including melatonin, anti-REM drugs, and sedating antidepressants. However, these medications come with varying degrees of side effects and diminished efficacy over time. The author, though, does not discount the use of medication in treating insomnia, as he points out that when used as prescribed and under the guidance of a healthcare professional, these medications can significantly improve insomnia. In summary, insomnia is a common sleep disorder with various causes, including genetic and psychological factors. It can have a profound impact on an individual's physical and mental well-being. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is an effective treatment option for addressing the anxiety and fear often associated with insomnia. While medications can be beneficial, they should be used with caution and under professional guidance. Alright, here is the essence of the book I wanted to share with you. We often think that our brains shut down and rest during the night, but that's not entirely true. Our brains can simultaneously be in both sleep and wakeful states. When the part of our brain that controls sleep malfunctions, it can lead to various sleep disorders, such as non-rapid eye movement disorders, e.g., sleepwalking, narcolepsy with cataplexy, sudden loss of muscle tone, sleep-related breathing disorders like sleep apnea, and insomnia. The book also explores some other challenging sleep disorders, including dream enactment behavior, cataphrenia, groaning during sleep, restless leg syndrome, and sleep-related eating disorders. If you want to learn more about these sleep disorders, you can open the ebook below. Towards the end of the book, the author addresses a couple of commonly asked questions. 1. How much sleep is enough? The author acknowledges that there's no one-size-fits-all answer to this question. Normal sleep needs vary depending on genetics and sleep quality. The right amount of sleep is when you feel refreshed upon waking, don't experience daytime drowsiness, consistently go to bed at the same time, and can fall asleep easily. If you can meet these criteria over the long term and wake up before your alarm clock, then your sleep duration is sufficient. 2. Is it necessary to wear a sleep tracking device like a smart wristband? Many smart wristbands have sleep monitoring functions, and people use these results to evaluate their sleep quality. However, the author remains skeptical about sleep tracking. We live in an era of constant measurement, from tracking steps taken to counting calories consumed. But the author points out that if you feel tired and low on energy during the day, it's likely because of inadequate sleep. You don't need a sleep tracking device to tell you that. Moreover, these devices aren't always highly accurate. In fact, for some people with insomnia, sleep monitoring can increase anxiety, making the problem worse. It's often not worth the obsession. If you're struggling with sleep anxiety, it might be best to take off the wristband and just focus on getting a good night's sleep. That concludes the essence of this book. Congratulations on completing another book, and thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, and goodbye.